Okay. Yeah. Rough day today, everybody. I'm on a live stream with Victor. I think Victor is away for a moment. He'll be there. He'll be back any second. Everything's red. I just looked at my all the stocks I track, and everything is down. Let's see. We're the top gainers. 8,500%. AIM Immuno Tech. It must have been a like a reverse stock split. There's no way I could go up 85x in one day. They did a 1 for 100 reverse stock split. So it actually did worse. It should have went up 10,000%. It went up only 8,500%. So it came down. Yeah, I would ignore that. 200% gain. Probably also a stock split. You'll notice a lot of therapeutic. Jin, what's up? A lot of like medical research stocks or therapeutic type companies, they're always in the top and they have really small market caps because they tend to be really volatile. They're thinly traded. As I mentioned, and I did I'm trying to do like trivia questions, like quizzes. So in my YouTube, um, if you follow my channel, you'll see the quizzes. Let me see. I'll give you the exact question. I can't even remember what the question was. I know it was something about thinly traded stocks. Okay. And a liquid market is also called a thin market, and it's characterized by, and that's the lack of buyers and sellers. The less buyers and sellers there are for anything, the more volatile the stock is, and the more wide it trades. Think of like a house, right? There's not like a million people that are going to buy every house. I mean, they could be maybe 10, 20 people that are looking at a house. But generally, it's a handful of people. Some people list their house and it takes many months to get an offer. Like they may list it for 300,000. And if you look, when did they initially list the house? It might be back in like, we're in June, maybe be like February. Why is the font so small? So maybe it'd be like in February 2025 they listed it. And it's not like nobody's interested, but they probably got offers like as low as like 250K for the house. It's pretty easy to value a house. If it's like a 2 bedroom house, like 1,200 square feet, you can just look in that neighborhood of the 2 bedroom house is 1,200 square feet or in that range, what they sold for. And if something sold in the past few months with these characteristics, that's pretty much the value of your house. So you usually, it's not like it's not that thinly traded a home where you can actually get double for the house. Like no one would pay, like maybe you get like 350K if it's a hot market. But other things are more thinly traded, like maybe I don't know if you follow, like a PSA 10, like a perfect 10, a perfect baseball card. If it was like a Wayne Gretzky, rookie card. And if the last person that bought it paid, 100K, it's possible you get 200K. Like it's that thinly traded. There's probably a handful of them, and there's going to be a lot more like a wide range. But with a stock, if a stock's trading at $25, no one would pay $26 for that stock, because there's probably 10,000 people looking to sell it for 25. Maybe $25 and like 5 cents. That's the most you can go up, but you can't go to like double the stock price. It's just impossible. It's it's traded too much. But anyways, where's Victor? Surprised he's not here. So let's see what's the big movers today. Verve Therapeutics. That's a pretty big company, 1 billion market cap, 82%. That's pretty crazy. Verve Therapeutics. Something must have happened for them to go up 82% in one day. Okay, they got acquired. Eli Lilly acquired Verve Therapeutics for $1 billion. So it was probably trading at like 600 million. The shares are 11.38, so probably shares were like $7 yesterday. And when they announced the acquisition, the stock price jumped up to whatever it got acquired for. So when a company gets acquired, the stock price generally goes up about 50%. That's like the average, but it goes up depending on how much they pay for the stock. But the company that acquires that company goes down actually in price, because generally you take on debt to acquire another company. So if you had inside information, which is illegal, you could have bought a ton of Verve yesterday. If you did have inside information and you bought options on Verve, you'd probably get in a lot of trouble. Well, not, one or two options is fine, but if you put like $10,000 into option trades on Verve and another $50,000 on buying the stock, it would show up. Like the SEC would see that. If a month ago you invested that, it might not show up. But if like yesterday or the day before or last week you bought a ton of options, like how would anybody know the stock would double unless you had inside information? We got lucky from buying at a couple of hundred shares of Palantir with cost basis of 13. That's. Hey Victor, what's going on? I hate Palantir because I messed up. That's one of the few stocks I look back on and I kick myself for selling too early. You know what happens a lot? Like, hey, good. Insiders were selling solar stocks. Do you think they'll be in trouble? Well, it depends. I mean, if you buy or sell stock, it has to be a significant amount for the SEC to figure out if you're doing it insider. Because I mean, it would be possible that I bought Verve yesterday a couple $1,000, but it would be odd if my trading account was 100K, right? And I put like 80K on options, like that would be too obvious. So yeah, so big red day today. Everything's down. We were talking about Verve. It's up to 83% today, 82% because they got acquired by Eli Lilly.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, that's that would have been a nice score if you had inside information, but
Well, the
Unfortunately, we
thing I
have
would
to.
point out is if we're seeing Verve get acquired, maybe other companies are going to get acquired in that space. So the acquisitions aren't going to stop. They're actually going to increase because the new president and the new administration, I should say, isn't going to fight acquisitions like the old administration. The old administration was just like bent on like not allowing any acquisitions to happen, but this administration is going to let them happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, that's the name of the game. You acquire or you die. That's just how you grow a huge conglomerate. If you look at any company, it's made up of like sometimes hundreds of companies that were acquired throughout the decades. And most of them we never know about because they're small. Like probably almost every week, the Mag 7 is acquiring someone. You know, they acquire someone for like 5 million, 10 million. You just don't know about it. Let's see what else. Yeah, I try to do that. I was trying to like see if I can figure out a stock to buy as an acquisition target. But you sometimes you have to sit on it for like a year or longer because you never know when it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and I would think you also have to buy like it's almost like fishing, right? You don't put one line in the water, you put like 20, and then you see
Yeah.
which one hits. So if you own small caps, you have a chance that that small cap is going to be acquired. That's the way I view it because I've had like I owned Activision when it got acquired with Microsoft. I've had like 3 stocks that got acquired, and it was great. Overnight, boom.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a, you know, usually companies that big don't get acquired because there's only so many companies. The larger you get, the harder, the less likely you will be acquired because the population of companies that can afford to acquire you goes down pretty dramatically. Like nobody can acquire Microsoft because they're the biggest company. So that they would never get acquired. But if you're like under 100 billion, look at these solar stocks. Solar got crushed today. Well, what happened that solar went down so much?
Well, probably because the big beautiful bill probably has like no incentives for solar, none. So that's not helping them.
Leads route and solar stocks, they have to send it back. Okay, so they're ending the tax credits.
Correct.
So that's why. And that's a big reason people get solar
It's a
or
big piece
buy
to it.
alternative energy.
I
Yeah,
bought
without the
solar. I bought solar 3 years ago, and my purchase in solar was a tax credit. So I was able to go to my taxes and on the federal level and, have a pretty good tax asset there and take it off my taxes. And in addition to that, I think the solar is saving me money, so that's all good too.
Oh yeah, I think yeah. When I moved in, within the first year, I got solar panels, and it's definitely paid for itself because it was really expensive. Um, my PG&E bill when I moved in, I couldn't believe it. It was like 1,000 some months, which I thought was nuts because it's only me and my wife. This, so the way it works is, say you have income, your gross is 100K, and your company sets you up where they take a certain amount of money out of each paycheck. And you could alter that. You can have them take more or less out. But let's say they take like 25%. So your net pay is going to be 75,000. There might be other things getting taken out. So that means each paycheck, say you get paid each week, each paycheck is $1,400. But if you if you say you bought $40,000 of solar panels, that reduces your income.
Well, the way you would apply it is you can use it as a credit toward your taxes. So your income doesn't go down, but you use it toward the payment of that 25,000.
Yeah. Well, there's different ways to do it. But right. Depending on the type of deduction, this is how I always think about it. Like at least to explain it. So your gross is $100,000. Say you had a $40,000 deduction from something. It could be solar, it could be other things. Maybe you gave your car to charity and you donated. So when your accountant does your taxes, the fact that you paid $25,000 in taxes, but you should have paid $15,000, because when you take into account this deduction, you should have actually paid 15, because 25% of 60,000 is 15,000. So you would get a check in the mail from the IRS for the difference. You get a $10,000 check in the mail. That's a quick way to calculate it. So say you had a $40,000 deduction. If your tax rate is 25%, then that's how you calculate it. You'll get a roughly 25% of 40,000 is 10,000.
But now that the solar industry got that taken away, it takes away a big incentive, and fewer people will kind of say, "Oh, okay, I'll do it," because it's like a win-win. My taxes go down, and I'm going to save money on electricity.
So it's still good to do it, but it's not as good.
Correct.
Like that sweetener really helps a lot, because you are going to save money on your gas and electric, but you're not sure. Like, so a lot of people are not sure. Like, is it really worth it? Like buying an EV, is it really worth it? Am I going to save on this and that? But sometimes, but we want the point. The government wants people to use green energy for the environment. So I don't know why they took it away, because less people are willing to. Was it because to save money for the deficit? Is that what was? I'm sure there was a reason, or at least you'd actually never know the reason. It could be just they can just say something. They could say anything, and you don't know the real reason. It's probably. But so yeah. Did you want to talk about the hedge fund at all, or just
No, I wanted to talk that through just one-on-one.
Okay.
Because the idea is still there, but the vehicle, I think, would have to be something different. The one area in the market that did well is oil energy. That was the green area of the market, as well as like aerospace and defense. There was some pretty good red in the drug manufacturers, but energy did well. And I think it's going to go higher because the oil price keeps going up.
Well, this helps oil a lot. When you take away this tax credit, less people are gonna do things like buy solar and buy electric vehicles. There's less incentive. So
yeah.
This is a good thing for oil. So it did really well today. I bet UCO went up a lot. UCO is I think it's a double or triple levered ETF. So it went up 6.5%. Yeah. Did any of your stocks go up? I think
For me, a couple that went up nicely. My oil stocks, Oxy and Chevron, and then
What?
a couple of
Wow.
others that weren't expected. Reddit went up nicely. Oscar
Yeah,
Health went up
what
really
about
nicely at 7.8. Reddit's doing really well. Reddit's a good buy. Well, it's a stock that I've been really bullish about for the last couple months, and it's really making it happen now. Oscar Health, symbol OSCR, it went up
Yeah.
7.8% today.
Yeah, I saw that. A lot of the healthcare stocks seem to go up. I guess it's kind of like if one company does well in an industry, other companies' stock goes up just because of that
Yeah.
connection. Even if yeah, Reddit, it's still trading well below its all-time high. It was at 220. Maybe did we miss the boat for Reddit? I think
I
it's still
bought
a
into
good buy.
Reddit. I bought into Reddit, so I'm in the boat.
Yeah, I like Reddit. I mean I like the app. It's a good app to use because it's like
Yeah, and
secretive.
I try to find companies, that have like a really good moat and differentiation in the market. And I think that Reddit, like the user base is different. It's not Facebook, it's not Instagram, it's not TikTok. It's people that really get into a topic and just drill pretty deep into that topic. So I don't think that's ever going to be taken away from them. And I think it's going to grow internationally. So they're growing really nice. I think they're growing 50 or 60% top line revenue, and they're really profitable and they generate free cash flow. I did a video on my channel coming up on a month ago on Reddit, and the stocks flourished.
Yeah, they had that first. They had negative net income for a number of years, and then in trailing 12 month it's positive. That's big, and cash flow has been positive. It was positive in 2024. It was negative before that, so now they're finally cash flow positive. They actually had negative operating cash flow in prior years, and now they turn positive. Is it just because revenue went up? I guess so. Revenue went up a lot from 800 million to 1.3 billion from 23 to 24. It's a pretty big jump.
And they started to advertise quite a bit more.
And that's probably like Facebook or Meta. That's 95% of their and Alphabet too. And over 90% of their revenue is advertising. I know you can pay to be for like the Reddit app. Most people I don't think
Right.
pay, but they do make some money from people who want to pay and get extra features.
Like I pay on YouTube to go ad free. And
Yeah,
I'm glad because I spend so much time on YouTube. You could do the same thing on Reddit.
yeah. I've been paying a long time for YouTube because if especially if you use it a lot,
Yeah.
it's so annoying the videos. So I think that's worth it. But
But
it's all about
Reddit could be an acquisition. I mean, they're not gigantic yet. So a gigantic company like a Microsoft could totally acquire them.
yeah. I could see what are they like 40, 50 billion? I'm just guessing 40, 50 billion. I might be way off.
24 billion.
24. Lower than I
That's like
thought.
one data center for Microsoft. They
Yeah,
acquired
that's
Activision for like 72 billion. That was like 4 or 5 years ago.
that was one of the biggest acquisitions ever. I must be still be in a top 10. I, Okay, the largest was 1999, 180 billion.
Usually big
350.
acquisitions, they don't work. Like AT&T acquired um oh man, uh what was the cable, not the cable, but it was DirecTV.
AOL?
And that was like a huge like loser for them, like massive. And then AOL, I don't remember if they acquired Time Warner or vice versa. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on that one, but I can tell you AT&T, the acquisition of DirecTV was awful.
It's yeah, it's hard to merge two giants. It's a lot easier if one company's extremely large and someone's really small, because
Like
obviously, yeah.
if you have like a company like even Amazon, right, it's just 2 trillion, and then they acquire Reddit at 24 billion. It's like it doesn't even show up in the income statement. It's like whatever. We
Oh yeah,
acquired
it's a rounding
that
error.
company and we put them on the shelf.
But it's easy. It's easy to like. Obviously, the small company is going to have to listen to the bigger company. It's kind of like when you have a job. If you're just a cog, and you kind of have to listen to your boss. But if you're like equals, like you're both 50-50 partners, then that's when tension arises, because both people want to have their say. And it's hard when you're successful, or you feel you're kind of equals. And it's even harder if you're like, if you made like double someone beneath you, and the person beneath you is trying to get leverage on you. That's even harder. Um, that's why that's why relationships don't work a lot of times. It's too much the egos. People can't put their ego aside. So let's see. Reddit has 100 million daily active users, 360 million weekly active users. So there are more than 100,000 subreddits. Okay. I wonder how many people pay for Reddit. I was curious about how many people pay for it.
I'm gonna
I
guess
think
not many.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's not like a video where you're watching it and then an ad comes on. You're like, oh man, geez. You know what I mean? You're watching a video that's 10 minutes long, then an ad comes up. On Reddit, you just kind of ignore the ads and you keep scrolling.
Yeah, it doesn't really. I don't even know what you get for paying for it. Reddit monthly active users. They're over 1.3 billion. It's a lot of users. That's pretty significant. And that's like one.
Yeah, Facebook Meta
That's
has like 4 billion. So these guys are like about I guess a fourth going to a third. That's pretty damn good. And Meta has a
Yeah.
market cap of 1 point something trillion. 1.75 trillion. And Meta's been doing good this year. Like the year to date, they're up 19%. It's a top performing mega cap.
Yeah, they've been killing it.
Maybe Trump will let Zuckerberg acquire Reddit. He'll be like, "Oh yeah, no problem, man. We're buddies. Go for
Yeah.
it. Who cares if you're a monopoly?"
I mean, I wish they just not interfered with companies and let them grow, because companies are trying to do things to grow their business, and by making customers happy is a number one way to grow your business. Not many companies are there to take advantage of people, even though I'm sure a lot of people think that.
Yeah, and the previous administration, I don't want to like throw them onto the bus completely, but when it comes to acquisitions, they were just really dumb. Like they blocked the acquisition of Albertsons by Kroger, and that was
All
just
right, yeah.
dumb. It's like Kroger's trying to now compete against Walmart that's moved into their space. Walmart's massive. Amazon has moved into the grocery business through Whole Foods and Amazon Fresh. I mean, they're now having to deal with these giants, and the government was like, oh no, we're afraid the consumer's going to be hurt. It's like, what world are you guys living in? Target does groceries now. So Kroger is having to compete with these mammoth, retailers. And the previous administration was like, no, I think that would give you too much power in the market. Yeah, you guys are not paying attention at all.
Yeah, it's just so annoying. Everything's so political, and it's about who's friends with who. But it's like here it is, maybe like a premium. I can't see it. So annoying. Reddit. I guess it's called premium users. It's probably like 1% of how many Reddit premium users are there. So 500,000. So less than 1%.
No, that's pretty good though.
I mean, the reason Meta will do better, it's not users is obviously important, but it's time on the platform. So you can have actually less users and still be a bigger company if people spend a ton of time on a platform, because the longer you spend,
Correct.
the more ad revenue that company.
And the demographics matter. Like if your demographic is, more income, like, the young male is really desirable, because young males are establishing households, they're buying cars, they're kind of like, building their life. Old males, like speaking for myself, I've bought 20, 30, 40 cars in my lifetime. I'll buy my wife a new car, but I'm checked that box 20 times. It kind of gets old after a while. Where young males, it's like, oh no, I want to buy that Beamer, I want to buy that whatever, and so they're more desirable. So if Reddit has that block of that demographic, it's very valuable.
Yeah, it's like TV shows too. Remember, Seinfeld was so successful because they had that demographic, the male demographic from 18 to like whatever it was, 35, and yeah, if most of your users are in a country that's a poor country, you can't charge as much revenue, ad space revenue, as opposed to being in a affluent country like the U.S. or Canada or Germany. So yeah, a lot of those things matter. That's why everybody wants to be in the U.S., because we spend the most money. Yeah. So thanks for Stock Spotlight. I appreciate it. I don't know if you're talking to me or Victor though, but either way.
Well, I love your content, so I'm going to agree with Stock Spotlight.
Thank you. So anybody have a stock that went up today? Let me know in the comments, because all my stocks went down, even ET, Energy Transfer. I thought oil stocks should do well, but this is a midstream company, so it's a little less reliant on oil than like a Sunoco, which is a downstream company.
Yeah, the oil exploration companies and the integrated oil companies went up. So did like LMT, Lockheed Martin. It went up nicely. It's in aerospace and defense.
That's interesting. What's that? The heat map thing?
Yeah.
Let's see what that looks like.
Nice.
Heat map. As expected, it's all red, except for energy. Energy did well. The big energy companies, at least. Visa was up. AMD is up. Raytheon. Yeah, some aerospace did well.
So I have a kind of a discussion topic around AMD. So the stories I've been hearing is AMD's semiconductors have gotten a lot better to the point where they intend on competing with NVIDIA for high performance computing for the fast GPUs. And if they're able to, then it's kind of like AMD stock's going to fly up. So I've read the stories. I've seen some legitimate sources say, yeah, they're getting better. I don't know if you've kept up with AMD. I haven't kept up with AMD all that closely. I haven't liked AMD a whole lot because they don't generate a lot of free cash if you look at them historically. But it would be a game changer if they become a little mini NVIDIA.
Yeah, and that's what people are looking for. Who's the next NVIDIA? Because there will be somebody. People keep saying, "Oh, I missed it." So it's kind of like I remember in the year like in 2005, people are like, "Oh, I missed Apple. I missed." But even if you bought it after it went up 10x, it went up another 10x. But there's always someone around the corner. It's just who is it? And if you have the balls to hold out and wait and hold the stock, even if it doesn't go up.
I guess my moment when I leaned into it, a couple of them was 2010 real estate. Everybody was like, oh my God, you had the big subprime meltdown. And in my area, I live in Orange County, California, which is a very nice place to live. It's very expensive. And properties, nobody wanted to buy them. You could like go in an area and like pretty much pick what it all the ones that were for sale had been on the market for 6 months, 10 months, 12 months. You were buying them for banks and stuff. So I bought 5 properties, and to buy a property in California, I had to drop like 50, 75 grand just to invest, right? But like one of the properties that I sold in 2022, I bought it for 325, and I put basically up front like total of 90 grand because I bought the property. It's like $75,000 down. I put some money into the property. Fast forward close to 10 years later, I sold it for 980,000. So that $90,000 investment, and each year I was making money on the property. I was cash positive, but just following the money, I turned $90,000 into $980,000 in 10 years. That was a good one. And I bought when everybody hated real estate. Like, oh my God, real estate's never going to be the same. Just negative story after negative story. And the other properties that I'm sitting on are like just massive equity positions. That was one moment. Now I could be greedy and say, man, I should have bought like 100 properties. I should have like mortgaged. I should have like went on credit card debt and everything. But hey, man, I bought 5. I made good money. Move on. The other one was Bitcoin. I started buying it 2017. The coins were like $1,500, $1,800 for a Bitcoin. And okay, I bought it and I've multi-bagged it. Now, looking back, if I had more courage, maybe I could have dropped 50 grand into it. And geez, man, I'd have $3-4 million. But I didn't. I put like small amounts, but at least I was willing to do it.
I didn't think it would. I thought it would go up, but actually, almost a lot of things have gone up a ton with inflation. Ever since COVID, like just things have gone up so much.
I mean, I like the story that you tell about Meta, and that hey, you had the courage to enter a Meta position, and I know that things kind of changed a little bit, but hey, you got the position, so that's good.
Yeah, it's the thing is, if you did have the courage to like drop 50K into Bitcoin when it was like 2000, the thing is, most people, I'm pretty confident most people can't sit on a stock for like 20 years because it's just like if you have like, like if you have like 10K in like I don't know, like 2007, and then you see it like go up to 100K at one point, right? And then if it drops to like 60, 70K, the thing is like seeing it every single day, most people just can't, they think it's going to come once it starts dropping again, they think it's going to keep coming down. So a lot of people, I very rarely I've heard people that can sit on a stock or an investment for like multiple decades. It's just they usually sell out. But that's what you got to do. You just got to hold long term. I mean, you can sell a little if you need the money, but
Or to diversify. Like if you're in, like in my case, right, real estate, well, real estate's great, but man, it's hard to liquidate. You can't like sell, like you have an asset and it's worth $1 million. And you're like, well, I'd like to pull 100 grand and buy my wife a new car. Well, you can't sell like, okay, I'm gonna sell one bedroom. That's 100 grand. No. Now you can take a loan against it, but I hate, getting into that type of paperwork. Where stocks is different. So I've reduced my real estate position so I can have more liquidity. And stocks are very liquid. I mean, you can sell some
yeah,
stocks, create cash very easily. You don't have to sell the whole position. You can sell a couple shares and be good.
exactly. That's what I like about stocks is it's very liquid. It's easy to get your money out. Um, Real estate is not like that, but there's a lot of pros with real estate, especially if you live in a house. Um, there's a lot of benefits because you can live possibly rent free if you pay it off. Um, and you can see since 2007, 8, 9, I mean, it's gone up more. It's probably doubled since then. And
Yep.
it took like 50 years to get to that point.
And
Um,
and we'd never seen such a decline in real estate. So a lot of people were saying, "Oh yeah, it's going to go down even further." So I ponied up capital, man, hard-earned money, and I'm really glad I did so. And that's the kind of thinking that got me into managing my whole portfolio, because all the educated voices were like, "Dude, don't do it. This real estate's horrible." And it was like, you're everybody's thinking that way. It's just out of their minds. People have to live somewhere, right? They have to have a dwelling, and Southern California is awesome to live in. So I just went for it, bought 5 properties, and I'm
yeah,
really glad I did so. And so back to my portfolio, pretty soon I started to second guess or question fund managers and people that were managing my money, and I'm like, enough of that. I'll do it on my own because I'm going to learn and I'm probably going to do better. And I've made so much more money managing my own, stocks. And I think now, I mean, I'm doing year to date, my performance, the S&P is at like 2 or something, right? And looking at my portfolio, I'm up close to 13% year to date. The S&P is up 2%. So if I had a fund manager, he'd be down 2%. He'd be charging me 2%. It's like, oh my God, that's terrible. So instead, I've figured out how to find the right companies, load up my portfolio on good quality companies. I own, how many stocks that I own right now? I own about 46 stocks. Some of them are big positions, like in Meta. That's my biggest position. So it's all like, as you know, speaking to all investors that are watching this stream, if you're young, just keep learning, because there's a lot of lessons in investing, whether you're investing in real estate, stocks, Bitcoin, whatever. There's a lesson in how do I define value, and when do I know I'm getting a really good deal? Or as Warren Buffett would say, a bargain. When are you getting a bargain? And then doing that. And there's a lot of art in what we do as investors. It's not just math. You have to be able to say, I think Reddit is a good company because I know that their engagement with their users is far deeper than any other platform. I know that because I use the platform. And my kids told me about Reddit. I'm a dad of 20 and 25-year-old. They're all over Reddit. That's when they believe they get their legitimate information from Reddit. That's what they believe. I don't quite, I'm not quite in that tribe, but I pay attention to what people are saying. So back to like investing is, if you're young, just keep doing it on your own. Keep making those decisions because you keep getting better. Learn from your mistakes, learn from your successes. If you're older like me, keep doing it because it becomes more important. The difference between, maybe in California, it's expensive to live. So maybe you're like, hey, I got 80 grand to get by on in California. Well, if you invest really well, maybe you'll have 120, 140 grand a year to get by on. You can go on vacations, you can buy nice stuff. So it's all in front of you on YouTube, watching Scott, learning. It's all there for you. I can tell you because I've lived it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Yeah, this is my E-Trade. I just want to see how I was doing compared to so year to date, I'm the purple, which is nice. So
nice.
Year to date, I'm up 4.5%. The Dow is up 3.6. The Nasdaq is down year to date. But if I go further back 3 years, actually the Nasdaq is doing the best. They're up 74%. I'm up 68. The Dow is only up 35. In 3 years, that's pretty bad. Only 35%. So I guess that makes me feel better. This is just one of 2 of my accounts. But yeah, Nasdaq, it looks like I should have just. Why was it investing in S&P 500? I just should have been in a Nasdaq. What is it ticker for the Nasdaq? It's Is there a ETF? There has to be, right?
QQQ.
That's Nasdaq?
Yeah.
I thought QQQ was the top.
Did I get that wrong?
Okay, to maintain a correspondence between the composition of weights and the stocks, and so I guess they're all not Nasdaq 100 index. So I guess QQQ is the Nasdaq. Well, the top 100 in Nasdaq. Nasdaq is pretty much a tech fund. It's always been
it's
like
growth because you have some you have some biotech, and you have companies like that in there, but it's growth oriented, like newer companies, growth companies. The Dow is old school. Hey, they've been around for 100 years.
The Dow doesn't perform that well. But there should be times when the Dow does perform well, but apparently, at least in the past 3 years, probably in a bear market, the Dow would probably perform the best because it's probably the least volatile. I would think. But yeah. I like the S&P. I've always invested in S&P. Maybe I should just start doing QQQ instead of wasting my money on the S&P.
So I've got I track super investors, and if you let me share my screen,
Oh yeah.
I could show
Super
you,
investor.
who's doing what. So if you want to add my screen share to the stage.
Oh, okay. Did I do that right?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay.
So this is just like year to date based on the information they provide in 13F filings. Michael Burry on top, number one, numero uno. David Tepper, he's solid, man. And he's mostly into China, and he's into a couple key tech stocks. His tech stocks have done well. Burry made his money this year in China and on tech, and then he sold pretty much everything except Estee Lauder.
Yeah, he's
At,
all Estee Lauder. Yeah.
at the end of Q1, he sold everything. This guy is, I believe, an Austrian guy or a Swiss guy. He operates out of Switzerland now. Vinal, he's there. Carl Icahn, the corporate raider. Tom Lee, this is his Granny Shots fund. Tracking that. 8.32.
Yeah, I
That's
like
pretty
Tom
good.
Lee a lot. Yeah.
Everybody makes fun of Kathy Wood, but guess what? She's beating the S&P, and she's beating Howard Marks, a legend. Guy Spire, not very well known. He's just a guy, but he's pretty good. Warren Buffett's down here. That's the Berkshire Hathaway portfolio that includes Apple and everything else, not the Berkshire stock. This is their portfolio of publicly traded companies as well as their T-bill portfolio that they have. Ackman's down here. He gets a lot of press, but his stocks are not doing very well. I could show you the losers that he had that are really keeping him back. Then Pat Dorsey, this guy, I really like Pat Dorsey. Have you studied Pat Dorsey at all?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I like him.
His book and his investing philosophy is excellent. Like, I get him, he gets me. Now, I should say he doesn't get me. I just get him. I really like what he says. Now, he is underperforming this year, but look at the last 5 years. He crushed it. Like last year, he did like 36%. The year before that, he did like 38%. I mean, he just crushed it. This year, his positions haven't been as good. A couple of stocks have held him back. This guy is a legend. He has been around a long time, down 16%. And then this guy's down 21%. So these are like investors that have a staff of analysts, people that have MBAs from Harvard and everything, and they cannot beat the S&P every year, understandably. And some of them can. Now, Michael Burry didn't do well last year. He didn't do well the year before, by the way. So he's having a good year this year, but he underperformed the market last year and the year before. And I think for a long time, Michael Burry was sitting there going, oh, everybody's buying the dip, the market's going to crash, yada, yada, yada. And he missed the market. And he missed the market in 23 and 24. And how much money was that? Well, if you look at Burry's portfolio, he manages a lot of money. He's holding close to 10 million, no, more than that. Let's see, $13 million. So you missed the market in 24 as an example. I think the S&P was up 25% or something. That's like $4 million. That's a lot of dough. So this guy's really good. He's really famous, but now he's just in Estee Lauder. And Estee Lauder, this is his position now. It's not a super winner. He made a lot of money on Alibaba, Chinese stock. That's where he made the most money.
He sold a lot of Chinese stocks recently, yeah.
And then he made a lot of money on Pinduoduo, but he made like 12 million on Alibaba alone. He made 7.2 million on Pinduoduo. He lost money on some stocks. He lost money on Bruker, never heard of it. VFC, never heard of it. And then he was in Oscar Health. And here's interesting is I noticed Oscar Health from analyzing the super investor, and I ended up investing in it. And Oscar Health, he left before the party started at Oscar Health, because
Yeah,
if you look
right.
at, he sold, at the end of Q1, which would have been here, okay? And they announced their earnings and it jumped up and it's up again. So he's missed 23% rise in Oscar. So he kind of left the stock a little too early. Maybe he should have kept Oscar instead of Estee Lauder. So
Wow, Gin's up 27%. Yeah, 'cause you always look back and you say, "Oh, why didn't I put more money into this?" But you never look back and the stocks you sold that ended up being losers, which a lot of stocks I've sold that just tanked, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm so smart." Uh, but
the great Warren Buffett has
yeah,
lost 16.4 billion. Is this billion or million? So yeah, $1 billion on Apple
yeah,
this year. So
and he
he's
saved a lot
probably,
because he would have lost a lot more.
yeah, and he sold a
So
bunch at the end of
part of it.
24. And if he had held it, it would be even worse. But that was his biggest money loser. Really, that's his biggest loser is Apple. That's what's holding him back. Then he has this one, percentage wise, Constellation Brands is also bad. But all the big money he lost on Apple. I don't know that Apple's going to do anything. They got no strategy, no new product. Everybody's
And
counting on them
are
making a comeback,
killing them.
but it's like, with what? What are they going to come back with? More iPhone sales? Good luck. You got
I'll be right back.
Samsung killing it. You got a bunch of other competitors coming into the market. So I don't know that Apple's going to make it back. But his biggest winner from a dollar perspective is Coca-Cola, believe it or not. It's pretty good. And another big winner was VeriSign. Good job, Mr. Buffett. Visa's been a good one for him. I mean, he has a big fund, big dollar signs here. That's what you get when you work on it for 94 years and are very good at it. Awesome. Another one that's interesting to look at is Tepper. He's number one was Burry. Tepper's number two. He's also in Alibaba. And I think he did sell some of his position, but Alibaba in the first quarter made him a nice amount of money, $561 million. Hoo-hoo, nice. And Pinduoduo, he's in Amazon. Amazon hasn't been a total loser, but it's not been a winner. He's in Meta, so that's been really nice in the second quarter. It's made him $66 million just in the second quarter, when we're like only, what are we, 2 months into the quarter? No, we're 2.5 months into the quarter. So he's made 66 million on Meta. He's suffered on the Google position like I have. Google hasn't moved much, but I think it's a good company. I'm not selling my shares. Vistra, he crushed it on Vistra, made $138 million, 51% rate of return in second quarter. Nicely done, Mr. Tepper. Made 52 mil on Microsoft in the second quarter. Whew, beautiful. Lyft made a 26.95 rate of return in the second quarter, 27 mil. So these guys, what I like about these super investors is they kind of give us a little bit of the recipe for success. We still got to do our homework. They give me ideas of where to be a good launching point. And frankly, if you see a stock that is owned by a lot of investors, for example, United Healthcare, that's beaten down. I think that's one of my new positions. I'm betting that United Healthcare is going to come back strong. I'm going to double my money on that stock. So
yeah,
these guys give me ideas, jumping off points. Now, I like the newer guys. Like Tepper is newer than Buffett because Buffett's 94. Tepper is like, I don't know, 65.
everybody's new compared to.
I know Burry's newer, and I kind of like I like Tom Lee, but he's a perma bull. He's always like, oh, the market's going to do great. The market's going to do great. He always says the market's going to rally. The market's going to rally. He was in Netflix, big credit.
Netflix.
Palantir, big credit.
Wow.
MicroStrategies, or Strategy as they call themselves. mean, he's crushed it on some CrowdStrike. Look at that, beautiful. He's had some stocks hold him back, like Apple. Ooh, Apple strikes again. And then we've got PayPal. Well, I've suffered with him on PayPal. I own PayPal. Tesla's down. Arista Networks is down. I kind of called this one too, by the way, on my channel for over a year. I've said Arista Networks is overpriced. The stock's gotten too high. So this guy here, this is his granny shots portfolio. He expects that most of these companies are, to simply state it, are likely to succeed. These are the likely to succeed bunch. And most of them, he's right. Look at his biggest positions. He's been right. So good job, Tom Lee. Progressive has done really well. Insurance, Abbott done well. Netflix crushed it. Costco's reliable. Look at Palantir, 82%. Holy smokes. CrowdStrike. Strategies up 29. GE, he got GE Vernova, the power company. Look at that, man. Awesome. Good job. So these guys, man, I study them. I learn a lot. And I would encourage, any investor, because I used to love, well, I've always loved Warren Buffett. Totally respect him. I don't invest like him per se. Like I don't carbon copy what he does. But I used to really like Peter Lynch 30 years ago. And then I continued to study, and I'm like, nah, I disagree with him on that now. I disagree. So I disagree with 80% of what he used to say, because I don't think it applies. Like he said things like, if you can't touch it, meaning if they don't make a tangible product, then it's not a good investment. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You can't touch Google. That's a pretty good investment. You can't touch Meta. That's a pretty good investment. You can't touch Visa. That's a pretty good investment. So I left Peter Lynch and kind of said, I'm not going to listen to that guy anymore. And I kind of evolved, and now I listen to Pat Dorsey. I probably listen to, I like what Vinal has to say, but Dorsey's kind of my guy. Tepper's solid, but he doesn't say much. He doesn't clearly state it like Pat Dorsey does. If you read this guy's book, you know how he invests. If you look at his portfolio, you know what he's up to, and I really get a lot out of that. Let me try to find Dorsey real quick. So here's Dorsey. He's in Meta, Google, AutoZone, PayPal, and the stocks that have held him back are like Wix. He's in Wix. They do websites. Google, PayPal, and I'm in PayPal, and I didn't get in there because of him. I just thought it was a good stock. And got Danaher, which I don't know what they do. Smartsheet, that was a bad idea. So those are the stocks he owns. So he's in a.
Yeah. I see, yeah. Okay, we lost him. That happens sometimes. He'll jump back on at any minute. Yeah, Jin said my big losers are the new companies with negative earnings. That's why sometimes when you invest in like a small company that's not making money, and the hope is they'll become a big company and make money, it's a risk. And a lot of times the risk doesn't pay off. Got knocked out?
Yeah, I think I was talking about those super investors bad mouthing them, and they used their powers and knocked me out.
Peter Schiff. Oh yeah, I like Peter Schiff. I remember I was like, he's a really good talker, Peter Schiff. He's so pro gold because he owns a gold, a company that sells gold. It's all he talks about. He's so negative. Do you listen to Peter Schiff at all?
Well, I always get something out of anybody I listen to. I agree with you that he's always negative. And, you have the one thing that I try to be careful with is, like I talked about Burry, and Peter Schiff's this way, which is if they stay on that story long enough, they're going to be right. Gold is where it's at. Gold is where it's at. Well, people have been saying that for 20 years. Now this year they're like, I told you. Okay, great. But
Right.
what happened the other 19 years? You underperformed the market. So they kind of stay on that. And
If you
like,
pick a crash every day, you're going to be right one day.
I like investors that are more like David Tepper. You have to give him this credit, is what he was saying 5 years ago is different than what he's saying today. He's evolved with the market. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people that are like, hey, the market that we had 5 years ago is different than today's. And it's especially different than 20 years ago. So somebody who just sticks on gold, gold, gold. Yeah, no thanks. There's not much to add there.
It's easy when you own a gold company to always
Right.
say it. It almost makes it like it's hard to trust someone. Like if somebody a CEO of a company and always telling you about the company, they may be honest. I'm not saying they're lying to you, but it's easy to like change your perspective. And like it's like if your child was playing a sport, it's so easy to focus on the positives and not even see any negatives. But that's just how it is. I do that too sometimes with stocks. Like I'm like, oh, this can't lose, and then I'm like, oh, that was a bad choice. Here's Peter Schiff, his portfolio, I guess. A lot of is this his? He has a lot of stuff. Yeah, I guess he's mostly with commodities like Newmont's a gold company, wheat and precious metals, gold, banks, British American Tobacco. That's interesting. Alibaba. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed he'd have these. Okay, I guess his company's Euro Pacific. That's his name of his company. Euro Pacific Asset Management. Okay, so that's his fund that he manages. But I like if you look at someone's fund they manage, people. I mean, I still like to look at what those investments, but I'd much rather see what's in someone's personal account than just what they manage for others, because you do act differently. That's why people watch us YouTubers, because we talk about our own investments because we're not managing money for other people.
And FYI, I talk about my losses. I go through them, and it's
yeah.
Forget about being embarrassed or whatever. I try to like go back through the breadcrumb trail and say, okay, where did I go wrong, or where did this thing surprise me? It's one thing to talk about the wins. Hey, this is how this stock's really doing well. But you're going to pick losers. I mean, I just showed you super investors that are, the best. They pick really good winners, and they pick a couple losers.
If you don't pick losers, then you're playing it too safe. I mean, you could invest in, money market funds and never have a losing year. Every year is a winning year, but you're only winning like 1% a year. Some years, less than 1%, maybe 2-3% of the best years.
And you listen to the language on Wall Street. Remember that Wall Street, they're making money from anybody who lets them manage, their hard-earned capital. So they're always trying to take themselves off the hook. Like, well, investing, is about a long-term mindset. Like, over the long term, did you make money and so forth? And they are always trying to make the individual investor feel like this is really difficult. You can't do it alone, and we can do it better for you. But let me quickly get myself off the hook and not be accountable. If they're really telling us, hey, we can do better than you, then show me that you can beat the S&P like 8 out of 10 years. I'm cool if you can't beat it 2 out of 10 times, but really show me performance. Show me like what Burry and Tepper are doing. Then you're kind of worth the kind of like the management fees and so forth. But don't start telling me how, like, immediately after they start boasting about their portfolios, they really start lower expectations of the investor. And I don't like that.
Well, that's what you got to do is you pump up an investment, but then if you're wrong, you kind of like you backtrack a little
Well,
bit.
I told you that things can go bad.
Yeah, you always. But I remember when I had an investment advisor, and I can't believe I had an investment advisor at one point. No matter what, if they were up, if they did well, then they could be up 15%. If they would say, "You look at this, look how good we're doing." If the market was up 20%, they would never mention that. They would never say. I would say, "You're not up 15%. You're down 5%." They would never say that.
Right.
But even if they were beating the market, which is great, they were up 25%. But anytime they're down, it would always be like it's a long-term thing, and this is so they're never wrong. I understand they want to like manage expectations, but that's why I didn't like, because they always had like the rebalancing of the portfolio, because they were like, okay, I'm like, why'd you sell out of this? They're like, yeah, we just too concentrated in this name, so we wanted to like spread it out.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You were too concentrated on Palantir.
Yeah. So if you have a winner, yeah. So I just figured, I don't even know why I had anybody ever manage it.
So I've had really good conversations with, my brokerage. I have a couple $1 million with them, right? So they provide somebody for free, and I really like the relationship we got going, because he doesn't tell me what I want to hear. Like the last round, I was telling him, okay, I'm going to de-risk. I'm going to start moving some of my stock positions into bonds just so that I can, keep my wealth. And he goes, well, don't do that. And I'm like, well, tell me more. And he's like, well, you want to keep taking risks. If you change, you're guaranteed you're going to underperform. You've been doing this well, to this point. I get, he told me, I get that maybe if you want to liquidate to invest in something or take a nice trip or whatever, but don't stop investing in stocks. And I'm like, all right, cool. I got somebody who's like not just telling me yes, is really listening. We got a good thing going, and I show him my models that I show on my videos, and we go over my logic, and it's been a really good relationship. I think he enjoys spending time with me because I'm probably a little more involved with my stocks than his other clients. So he treats me as kind of a challenge. So if you have enough money with your brokerage, they'll provide somebody that's going to be a wealth advisor, because they want to keep you. They don't want you to go to a wealth advisor. They're like, hey, no, keep your money here.
Yeah, I have somebody that checks in with me, but I do like him, but I don't have that type of relationship. I would like that, because the thing I like about, because if he was charging me a fee, I don't know, it's like a different type of dynamic when they charge you a fee. It's like you almost don't trust them. I don't know why. It's almost like they're always on the defense, and they're probably not. It's probably in my head, but I seem to respect people when there's no skin in the game for them. I kind of have respect for them. Maybe that's why I like this guy. But
yeah, and I think, again, I'm not saying this just to kind of butter up to you. One of the reasons I liked listening to you is there wasn't like I was paying you to tell me this stock is worth X. You just gave me your opinion, and I'm like, all right, cool. That's what Scott thinks that stock is worth. And I try to find a couple of different places where I could say, what is Meta worth, right? And I could see that super investors own it. I could see your videos and stuff. My relationship with this wealth advisor, one of the reasons why I started to do it was probably about 4 years ago. I'm like, my lovely wife, she's awesome. She keeps our home, and she does everything in our family that a guy, like me, just doesn't do. She keeps a nice home and everything, takes care of our sons. And I wanted to take her to meetings with somebody who can kind of explain our portfolio to her. Maybe someday I get hit by a bus and she has a relationship with my broker. And she was coming along for the meetings and stuff. And they did a nice job, kind of letting her know where everything's at. And then more recently, she told me, you know what, I don't want to go to those meetings anymore. It's so overwhelming. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, sweetheart. But if you ever need to, you know where they're at. And we turned it from being that was the goal that I had with them to, all right, I want you to like tell me stuff that I don't care if I like it or not. It's going to be productive if you tell me a couple of things that I want to hear. And we went through it, and he owned up to that, and so far so good, and I'm very happy with him.
Yeah. I remember this guy came over to the house, and I don't even know why I had him come over. Well, a family member who's very wealthy uses them as a investment advisor. That's the reason I had them come over. And they just give the same old pitch. They show you how much you have, and they show you you're going to have this much if you grow it at 10%. Which I don't know. I remember, and then he called me to follow up. I was like, yeah, I manage my own money, and I prefer to just make my own decisions and make my own picks. He goes, but we can do that together. Like if I'm going to buy something, then we could talk about it. I was like, that just sounds like such a nightmare. Because it's not like he's going to really want to listen to me. I mean, it is my money. But he's going to, I just could, it just didn't sound like something I would enjoy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably a good person and all, but
I think to the average person walking around that, hey, they can barely spell 401k. They're a big value add, but to you and I, it's like we're just too informed. We're the wrong client for that type of service. It'd be like me trying to teach the active members of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yeah, let me show you guys how to shoot free throws. They'd be like, they'd laugh me out of the building. Get out of town. We know what we're doing.
I know. And even if somebody is like an expert, like they just don't want, like if you have two experts in something, everybody has their own way to do things. Like it's like Michael Jordan trying to explain to Kobe Bryant, like if you're at that level, you probably just respect each other. You're not going to be trying to teach, unless the other person is asking actively.
Yeah. And there's some things you can't teach, right? Like there's your sphere of knowledge, right? Like I've worked in technology, I've worked in software, I've worked in oil and gas, I've worked in some pharma, and those experiences are in my head and in my experience. I did corporate accounting for pharmaceutical. I did corporate accounting for oil and gas. I've done massive implementations of software for companies to run their operations and stuff. So now put me in front of a software company, I can understand that language. I understand what I'm looking at when I look at their financials. I know that business really well. Oil and gas, I know it well. Pharmaceutical, I know it well. Well, an advisor, they don't teach experience. They're trying to put you in very large categories of, oh, well, if you go on this ETF and you go on that ETF, then it should do well. You're not going to be a total winner, but you're not going to be a loser either. And that's the part that I'm like, no, man, I've worked too hard for my money. It's fun taking chances. Yeah, I've lost money here or there, but I've also made really great money, and I'm going to keep betting on myself.
Yeah, yeah, because even if you lose money, and when I lose money, even if it's a lot of money, I'm like, it's a lesson.
Mhm.
Um, I know some people who just always lose, and they eventually get a financial advisor because which I think makes sense because it is hard. So sometimes there's even people who are really well informed, but they're in their own head, and it could be like that with even like us, an athlete. Like you can be really great at something, but you get in your own head and you psych yourself out for whatever reason. So sometimes it's just easier to have a third party do it. And nothing wrong with that. I just tell people, like, I don't even know why you pay anybody. Just put in the S&P 500. Like, there's no, you don't have to think. Just
Right.
put in the S&P 500. But they don't do that. They put in S&P 500 and S&P goes down, and then they think it's like it's them. Like like as if a financial advisor would have done better. Um,
Well, I just
but
showed you a list of super investors where half of them were above and half of them were
yeah,
below. So
and these are the best ones.
yeah,
Yeah, I saw Walmart's going to is well, not that close, but they're the closest to a trillion. That's not at a trillion. Um, and that'll be the first non-tech company.
you know who's going
Really,
to get to a trillion? Uber. Uber's going to get to $1 trillion,
um,
and
it'll
they're
take a
at 100
while.
and I don't think it's going to take more than 5 years.
Maybe not, because
And
200
there's going to
billion.
be
Nvidia did it in a year.
what's that?
Nvidia did 200 billion to a trillion in less than a year. So
Yeah, see, no, but if you look at Uber's scale, I mean they're just getting bigger and bigger, and they're growing really fast for their size. And I think the robo taxi business is going to involve Uber. It's just makes a lot of sense. And our friends over at Tesla are like, oh yeah, we're going to launch our robo taxi service on June 12th. And then right before June 12th, hey, sorry, we're going to have to delay it. Oh, that's the Tesla. That's the Tesla way right there. So, but if I look at Uber, just their valuation, when I value them, they're growing at 17%. They're 45 billion, right? And when I value the stock, I have them, let me tell you their value per share. I have Uber discounted by 50%. So right out of the gate, I think they're really worth about 360 billion right now. That's what I think they're worth right now. And if they keep expanding, they're going to, in my opinion, I'm using 360 as that's fair value. Well, they can double really 1.5 times. They're up to that trillion, excuse me. So I think Uber is going to get to $1 trillion. They're going to get there fast.
Uber, yeah, Palantir will probably get to too.
I doubt Palantir. I'm a Palantir bear. I think Palantir, if you look
Hope
at
they
their
don't.
revenue, they're small, right? Remember I said I was a software guy?
Yeah,
Palantir is a software company. A lot of people think they're an AI company, and they are in a way. But what they do is they produce software that does big data. They look at big data
yeah.
loads and they try to look for patterns in that data. We've been doing that for 25 years in the software industry. It's not new. They do it better. I'll give them that much. But it's not new. It's not like, oh, we do all this, analytics and data, big data analysis. No, we've been doing that for a long time. And they're a $3 billion company. That's tiny. Microsoft is
300 billion though. You mean revenue? 3 billion?
revenue.
Oh,
Microsoft's
revenue.
270 billion. Okay, Palantir is 3 billion. If you look at a good sized software company like Adobe is 20 some billion. Salesforce is Salesforce is a software company. They also have analytics as part of their product portfolio. Salesforce is 38 billion. Salesforce is like 12 times bigger than Palantir. And Palantir has a higher market cap than Salesforce. It's like, guys, the market's crazy about Palantir, but somebody explain to me how you can value the stock that has a $3 million revenue rate. They're growing nicely, but they're growing on a small number, 33%. It's going to take you a long time to grow into that very expensive valuation. So I think Palantir, I would not be surprised that once they start slowing down to 10% growth rate, this thing's going to just torture investors. Palantir is worth like 40, 50 billion, in my opinion. And I think it's going to torture investors over the long haul.
Maybe, I mean, they're trading at a pretty significant multiple. So
Yeah. I think they're 72% overpriced. And let's look at their multiple. It's always like crazy. So their PE is only 599. I mean,
yeah,
only 599. And you're buying the stock at more than 100 times sales. You're buying the stock for more than 100 times sales. And it's not like they're not growing. Like if you want to see growth, look at like ALAB, ALAB. They're growing at 200%. That's exciting. That's super exciting. But Palantir is growing at 30 some odd percent. It's like, okay, that's good, but it's not incredible. You're only 3 billion in revenue. Show me incredible. Show me 100%. Show me 200%. Like ALAB's growing 200%. That's exciting. They're a small company. They have the right product for their space. There's semiconductor that helps in the communication between multiple clouds. Like if you're running AWS and you're running Microsoft Azure, you're running 2 workloads that need to communicate with one another, use ALAB technology. And these guys could be acquired by like a NVIDIA or a bigger semiconductor company. So back to Palantir, I just shake my head and go, wow, it's incredible how expensive that stock's gotten.
Yeah. It reminds me of like when NVIDIA and Tesla, they were extremely overvalued. I mean, they grew into it. Will Palantir grow into it? That's the question everybody has to decide.
Yeah, and it keeps going up, which is amazing. It's up 486% over the 1 year. Year to date, it's up 82%. Incredible.
That's the thing. If I held on to it, like it pisses me off so much. But if I held on to it, would I have kept it this long? It's hard. It's hard because I kept saying it's overvalued. It's overvalued, but it keeps going up. So like when I have a stock I like and I think it's a good value, I don't sell it. But if it's a stock that I think is overvalued, I don't know if I would have held on to it. That's why I sold it, because I thought it was overvalued. And then it goes up like 2,000% since I sold it.
That's gotta hurt.
Yeah. No, like 1,200% actually. It was like 2,000 from the bottom.
It just takes 1 or 2 good misses. Like, not too long ago, they were only growing in 2023. Palantir only grew by 16%. I mean, that is underwhelming for a small company. It's good, but it's not great. And if they get back to like a 16% growth rate, I think some people are going to wake up. I think the exits are going to be flooded with people on that stock. But I've been wrong about it for 2 years, and I'll continue to be wrong about it until it crashes. Or if it never crashes, it'll be like, okay, I was wrong about it forever.
Yeah. Well, I was very bearish on Tesla, and I felt vindicated when they went down, but now they're coming back. So I don't know. I mean, that's what happens.
There's some stocks that are like celebrity stocks or casino stocks, like Tesla. It doesn't trade on fundamentals. I think everybody agrees. It trades on And in a big way, right? Elon Musk is a pretty incredible person. He's launching rockets into space. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
man, that's pretty cool. He built an EV company. That's super cool. And he's built all these companies. That's great. Um, it's a celebrity stock. Okay, cool. And then you have Palantir, which is like, it's gotten into this zone where the valuation doesn't matter. And once you get into that zone, it's just purely on what investors believe in momentum. Like, they're going to keep buying Palantir because it keeps going up. And I don't know how that's going to end and when it's going to end. But that's just not my investment. I've worked too hard for my money. That's why, like Bitcoin, right? I've sold some Bitcoin recently, and I've sold my Ethereum completely. And part of it is because I can't value it like I can value a stock or a real estate asset. I thought that the space made a lot of sense, that, hey, digital currencies make a lot of sense. I think the future is going to have them as part of the economy. So I made a decision. I'm going to sell my Bitcoin and buy more shares of Coinbase, because I think Coinbase does have fundamentals I can value. But that's where I think Palantir is a lot like Bitcoin, where it's going up because it keeps going up and there's a perceived value around it. But it's not because of their revenues. It's not because of their profits or their free cash flows. It has nothing to do with that.
Right. Look at of the top 10 large cap, Google is the best value.
Correct.
Well, it's only trading at 20 times earnings, which is a pretty good valuation. Berkshire, it's a little hard to value because they have an insurance arm, so PE is not as relevant, but they have 13 times earnings. Walmart's getting a bit rich. JP Morgan, it's hard to use a PE for a bank. But I'm really impressed and surprised how Walmart, it's hard to sell like products, like grocery products, and grow to this level. Like, it's amazing that they did it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're the only company like it. Yeah, it's Apple's coming down the list. I can't. It's under 3 trillion.
They're third place, and how close is Amazon? Amazon's closing in. Look at that, 2.28. And
I could see Amazon and Alphabet taking over Apple.
Let's talk about these companies strategically, right? Like Microsoft, they're strong. They got the AI business. They got legacy businesses that make a lot of money. And then when you go down the list, NVIDIA obviously is NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA is priced too high. I actually bought a put option that expires in about 10 months on NVIDIA.
Again. Okay.
Yeah. So, but as we go down the list, Apple is in no man's land. They don't have a strategy. They should be coming down to, I don't know, 1 trillion. And then when we go to Amazon, they're super strong and powerful. There's no way Amazon is not top 3 company in the next 10 years. They're going to battle it out with Microsoft and Google for the top spot.
So I put a lot of money in my account as Meta is and my wife's. I put a lot of money to Amazon.
Yeah.
I've been buying Microsoft lately, the past year or so. I built up Microsoft, but I don't own NVIDIA. I do own Apple, but not that much. And I've owned it for like 6 years or so. So it's been in there for a while.
I owned Microsoft a little bit, like 25 grand. And then I sold it because after their first earnings and they were spending so much in the data center, so much CapEx, I was like, man, they're not going to do well. And they didn't do well for like a month or two, but then they started to rise. That was a mistake. And it taught me that I'm not going to sell any of my Amazon shares. I'm not going to sell any of my Google shares. I'm not going to sell any of my Meta shares. I've actually been buying Meta and Google recently, even though Meta is like a big position for me. I'm like, Meta's really set up well. They have the AI business coming. They just started to monetize the WhatsApp business. You familiar with that business?
WhatsApp? Yeah.
WhatsApp has over 1 billion active
Yeah.
users, like daily active users. Now, and for a long time, they were like completely ad free. Now, Meta is going to put ads on there. And it's like, how much is that going to generate for them? Just
That's a lot of
gazillions of bucks, man. That's going to be great.
Yeah, they're killing it with Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. I mean, it's almost a monopoly.
And
if
their
they can
AI
get-
app has over 1 billion users now. It's
Yeah,
like, whoa, they're loaded.
it,
They
the
just signed a
scalability
deal.
is just
Mhm.
off the. Yeah, I mean, and these companies, Apple. I know Google is trying to get into AI more, but I think Meta's been the most successful with AI of the big companies. Google has been kind of successful. I think Meta has really leveraged AI the best,
Yep.
and it shows 1.75 trillion. I mean, it's $700. They were under $90
I remember. Yeah, in 2022.
not that long ago. It's not like
I
50
didn't
years ago.
sell. I didn't sell. I held and I started buying more. I was buying more during that time.
God, I wish I could go back. It's so easy, I guess. Everything's
Right.
so easy.
Well, those are like, like the members of my channel, right? There's a lot of young members, which is awesome to see, right? If and the younger investors, I really reinforce that, try to find 10 on the smaller side of stocks that are just going to, multiply your money times 10. And to find 10, it's going to be hard. You're probably going to have to buy 10 to get to a solid 6, 7, and then take your losses quickly on the ones that are bad. Get to figure out how to get those out of your portfolio. But if you're sitting there, 20 years later and you successfully did that, you can retire at 45. You're set economically for the rest of your life because you got a couple $1,000,000. And that's where it's at, is trying to find stocks that are going to multiply your money. It's not enough for a stock to go up 8%. Okay, 8% just buy the S&P. You'll do better.
Yeah.
Instead, try to find, the next Robinhood, the next, really good company that has the fundamentals, is gonna continue to grow. I put ALAB out there. ALAB's doing well, and that's a nice little cap. And if they're successful, they're going to be worth 5 to 10 times more their times their current stock price.
His most cash on hand. Obviously, Berkshire is number one. I mean, it's not even close. It's like a huge gap between them and everybody else. But Intel has a lot of cash, 21 billion of cash, which for a company a 90 billion market cap, it's quite a bit of cash.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much. Yeah. I guess their burn rate, they're burning a lot of cash. I guess that's why people don't buy it, maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we'll end it here.
Yeah, that sounds good. Good stream. Nice to connect with you.
Thanks for joining, everybody. And yeah, I think these streams are good just to talk about things. And yeah. This is just, it's all learning, right? That's all we can do at this point. Okay.
All right.
Talk to
Good
you guys
night,
soon.
Scott. See you guys.
Okay, see ya.